And I stand up and look inside, and I see Duke on the counter. So, yesterday, I had the first haircut, my first haircut in about a year? Like 14 months or so. And if you've seen me, yeah, I made a couple videos where you saw my hair, I think. It was I've naturally curly hair. I've got curly brown locks. And I had it down to my shoulders. And about, you know, once it gets to about that long, I asked the old lady to cut it, and she cut the little tango, the tiny tango's hair. She cut my hair, and I went with basically a military medium fade, baby, old school. And I'm still getting used to it. When she did cut my hair, I went up to, like, my dogs didn't really give a shit, except for one of them, our girl dog Lily. I call her Chill Pill, because she needs to take a chill pill, dude. For real, she's crazy. But I walked up to her, and she's looking at me all fucking bug-eyed, like, what? Where's your hair, dude? Where happened to your fur, dog? And I'm like, yo, what up, girl? She's like, I don't like it. I don't know if I like it. Man, she's an idiot. Like, dogs are already kind of, you know, dumb. And when someone says a dog is smart, that just means like they're just not, like, they're not as dumb. That's what it really means. But she's straight up dumb. Like, I don't know how to explain it. You just have to see her. You just look at her and it's like, oh, okay, I get it. There's like not a lot going on in that head. We do the whole, like, oh, what's the saying? It's like, no lumps or bumps or whatever in her brain. Smooth brain. She's a smooth brain girl. We have 4 dogs. We have our oldest, Duke. My wife already had 2 dogs when we got married. She had Rebel, the Husky, and Duke, the Hound German Shepherd mix. And now and that was 10 years ago. And they were 3 at the time. So he's about to turn 14. Rebel, the Husky, didn't make it. He was a purebred Husky. But they failed to mention that his mom and dad were brother and sister, and their mom and dad was brother and sister. You know what I mean? It was just, so he was a result of incest, and like, you couldn't tell just by looking at him. He was a beautiful guy. He was smart. He was sassy, dude. He was temperamental and sassy. Like, when he felt like he was being, like, unfairly treated, which meant that he couldn't, like, you know, chase the neighborhood cat or something, he would straight up leave. So one time my wife and I were giving the dogs a bath out front, and Rebel was not happy. He was not having it. You know, Huskies already don't really like to get wet, and so he's just giving us that half-cocked eyes look, just eyes out, or ears out flat, just grumpy, dude. And so I had him in the back of our Scion TC hatchback, you know, so he's just laying there, you know, after his turn. It's Duke's turn now, and he's getting his bath, and Rebel jumps out of the car and starts kind of like walking down the sidewalk, and we're like, Rebel, no, Rebel, come back. So he comes back and he lays down, But you can tell he's thinking something, you know, something's bothering him. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. So I'm getting ready to take him inside, and that's when he was like, this is bullshit. I'm like, come on, Rebel, let's go inside. He's like, hell no, and he gets up and he just takes off. Now, we lived in base housing Camp Pendleton, Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton. And so our house was like right here, you know, and that way's west. So he runs west to the main street, hooks a right, and about 100 feet down the road from there to the north was a dog park. And he knows that that's where the fun is. And he's like, so he basically says, screw you guys, I'm gonna go where the fun is. I don't have to listen to you. So he's done this enough that, you know, the local people, the neighbors that would go there, knew that he, you know, they knew him. And so they just would put him in there's a little holding tank, you know, and they would just throw him in there. And then we'd show up a minute or two later, and there he is. I'm like, all right. And so this time my wife went after him, and he's already in there. You know, this is over the course of like 45 seconds to a minute and a half. You know what I mean? This all happened really fast. And so I'm just sitting there waiting. I'm holding Duke on his leash. Now Duke's always been the most behaved, you know. Oh, except for one time. But Duke's always been the most behaved out of the two. And so he's just waiting patiently. He's like, all right, see, I'm a good boy. I didn't do nothing. I'm just saying right here, I didn't do nothing. You know, like a minute goes by. So my wife's 5'2" on a good day. She's 5'1.5". And I see her come around the corner carrying a 90-something pound husky. He was a big boy. And she comes around the corner just carrying him, and he just looks super embarrassed, like he hated being carried, especially in public. And so he's just ears flat still, just grumbling. You could hear him arguing. He's just, you know, like how huskies talk a lot. And he's just grumbling, dude. So we always had to watch out for any sign that he might take off. Like normally he was good off leash, you know. Behind our house was like an ovular type park, little grass area with a playground. And when I was a stay-at-home dad, I would just let them walk around back there, you know, supervised, of course. While my son, he was learning to walk, while we would walk the path. You know, there's a path, and he's like walking. He was learning about elevation changes and all that. One time, Duke, so my wife and I were smoking out on the back deck. And we both used to smoke cigarettes. Camel menthol. And so it's after dinner. It's about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the evening. Fall, I believe it was. So the sun's already set, pretty much. And so the lights are on in the house, and we don't have the lights on outside. So if you know anything about that, you can see inside, but the people inside can't see out. You know what I mean? So we can see inside. We're smoking and talking and looking at vines and stuff, if you remember the vine. And then excuse me. And so we just hear this loud clatter, clang, bang, jang. And I stand up and look inside, and I see Duke on the counter, not like on top, but not like all 4 feet on top, but both hands up there. He's getting into we had spaghetti, so he's trying to get into the spaghetti sauce. And then I'm watching it, and next thing you know, he grabs the lid of the pot with his, you know, with his claws, and he basically just throws it on the floor. And the realization of what he did hit. He's like, oh shit. So he comes up to the sliding glass door where we were. He can't see us because, remember, the light's off outside, it's on inside, so he can't see us. He runs around the house looking for us. And then we're pretty sure this is what happened, and we just go with this. But then he goes upstairs and tells Rebel like, yo, Rebel, there's free spaghetti sauce on the floor downstairs. And, you know, so Rebel runs downstairs. He starts lapping it up. And Duke lays down up the stairs in the bed, basically framing Rebel. And so we get inside. We're like, well, what the fuck? And Rebel's like, oh, it wasn't me. You know, he runs away. And Duke comes down like, what's going on? I have no idea. This is the first I've heard of any of this. What's happening? And we're like, Duke, come on, bro. So Duke framed Rebel. Oh my god, it was so funny, dude. We still laugh about that. But Rebel, poor dude. So Rebel would get grand mal seizures right after his 4th birthday. And he would have these seizures. He would piss himself. You know, he would basically lose control over his bodily functions. And you know, at first they happened in rapid succession out of nowhere. And he would get really scared after. And at first it was like, dude, what the hell? And so my son, mind you, is about 13, 14 months old at the time. If that. He might have even been younger. He might have been under 1 year. But he's walking. Sort of. You know? Doing his best. He's like at that point where he's in between a walk and a crawl. And so they got farther, they were in rapid succession at first, and then they started getting farther and farther apart. And we're like, okay, maybe he's going to grow out of it or whatever. But the farther and farther apart they got, the more intense they would get, which was scary, dude. And I mean, I'm talking, he would go straight up rabid dog, like, you know, like, and I've put him down before. You know, he would try me. When my wife first brought him home, you know, who the hell are you? You know, you're not my dad. So him and I would fight and butt heads all the time. And so, you know, eventually I had to put him in his place on more than one occasion. But this was different. You know, there's no, you know, when you look into a dog's eyes, you can see the soul and all that. If you can't, well, you can. You're not looking hard enough. But it was all gone. It was just rage, you know, or just fear. And a scared animal is a dangerous animal. So yeah, one time I had to call the MPs to come out, military police to come out, because my son and I were basically stuck upstairs, and he's just pacing downstairs like a bear. That was scary, bro. It was terrifying. They asked me if I wanted them to put him down. I'm like, no, I don't want you to put him down, but we just need you know, some backup, dude. We need backup, because, you know, you're not allowed to. I mean, at the time, I didn't own any firearms, and my wife had one, but technically, well, no comment. But I couldn't get to it, and so, yeah. Anyway, long story short. A couple weeks later, we made the decision to have him put down, because we talked to the doctor about it. They're like, he's got a tumor in his brain, and he might not make the surgery, you know. And even if he does, there's no telling what's going to happen after. So, rest his soul, man. He was a good dog, you know. As much bullshit he put us through, he was a freaking awesome dog. We both loved him like crazy, and he just didn't make it. Poor dude. Anyway, that's enough about sad dog stories. On the way home, I'll tell some funny stories, though. I'll tell some good ones. I'll talk about dogs I have at home. And I want to know if you've had any really sad things like that. I mean, maybe if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine, but you're not alone. You know, everybody goes through, especially dog owners, we go through heartbreak every 15 years, man. So anyway, sorry for being morbid and sad, but I love you, and I'll talk to you in the next video.